Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Daily BM, where we punch you right in the nuts. It's time for another day and another dollar. I got my co-host here, Mikey, and I also have my buddy, Eric C. What's going on, Eric?
What is going on, buddies?
It's just another day, guys. So, I want to kind of spin off from what we did on the last show. And, we were having a conversation because I'm a loser, baby. So why don't you kill me?
Getting crazy with the cheese whiz.
Well, it's not just that. Yeah. It's not just that it's that you feel like a loser even though you're not. Because I see people on Instagram,
okay,
that they have it all. In my mind, you know what I mean? And they're still fucking unhappy, and they still feel like they're not there. You know what I mean? Or no?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, there's a millionaire that recently just offed himself.
Yeah,
somebody from New York. I'm serious. It's like it goes to show you that money does not buy happiness necessarily. I think it does, but it could be a bunch of different things that can upset anybody at any given time.
Do you want to know what money buys you?
More shit.
No.
Peace of mind.
No.
Bitches.
No. Better problems.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's not.
And bigger problems.
You still have the same problems. Like, what are you going to eat? You just have better choices. Where are you going to live? You just have better choices. How are you going to deal with this situation? You just have better choices. You have the same problems. You have the same issues. You just have more options. And you have better options, but you still have the same shitty problems.
And we're going to kick off the morning with nothing but negativity. So guess what, assholes? Whether you're rich or poor, you're going to have fucking issues and problems. Sorry.
What I'm saying is how many times, and anybody any level can probably relate with this, how many times have you seen in your mind, man, if I could just make X amount of dollars more, I'll be so much happier. And then you make X amount of dollars more, but you're in the same exact fucking place. Like, do you remember, like, when you were a kid and you're like, all I want to do is get a car so I can have fucking freedom. And then you get a car and you're like, man, all I want is a fucking nicer car because this car is not fucking nice, you know? Then you get the nicer car and you're like, fuck, now I got a nicer car, but I hate this fucking car payment. You know what I mean?
Or you got to fix something or, it costs you more money.
Yeah, and then you have the nicer car and then you're like, oh man, I got this really nice car, but it's just not it brings you joy for a couple of days, but then it's gone. That joy is gone because you're like, oh fuck, now I got this, and this, like, damn, I wish it's like that first time that you pull up in your nice brand new sedan and you need to put something in it. You don't have the room and you're like, God dang it, I wish I'd gotten the SUV. Then you get the SUV and you pull up in a nice restaurant and you're like, man, I wish I had the fucking nice sedan because it looked nicer going out.
Today's show is brought to you by who pissed in your Cheerios this morning?
Oh man, my Cheerios are constantly fucking pissed in, dude. I buy piss flavored Cheerios. They're pre-pissed.
Pre-pissed. Yeah. When you said that, I just imagined a bunch of dudes sitting around a big old freaking vat.
Sitting in the fucking vat.
Yeah, hey, some motherfucker's going to drink this. I had a lot of freaking Pepsi last night. Look how yellow my stuff is.
It's just the realization that that's what it boils down to, is that, that's why the forefathers were so fucking smart, because they wrote The Pursuit of Happiness, because you never get there.
So you're always in pursuit.
You're always in pursuit of it, because the minute you think you're there, you're like, I'm fucking happy. Then it's like, bam, now you're not fucking happy.
You're a miserable fuck.
Just think about it. You chase the girl that you fucking dreamed of your whole fucking life. You get her, and then you're like, well, this fucking sucks.
It does happen. I remember I had all three of the major ones going for me at the same exact time. Once upon a time, I had the girl of my dreams, the car of my dreams, and the job of my dreams.
And the guy of your dreams.
And the guy of my dreams. So before things, you're right. And then I lost the girl of my dreams to a car accident in my car of my dreams. Oh, and then I lost my dream job. So, and that all happened within a 1 year period.
So what did we learn? Never date her.
Okay, hold on.
Pursuit of happiness is not true.
Did your girlfriend die?
No, thank God. No.
Oh, thank God. I was like cracking the joke, and I was like, wait, I didn't ask.
The hot rod was totaled completely, and she was found buried underneath of it off 75, and she was paralyzed from it and stuff. And
from like the waist down?
Well, yeah. And then they get choked up talking about it and everything, but she survived. That's the most important part. You can replace a car. You can't replace a human life.
A human being, no.
No, not at all, man.
And that's not what we didn't break up because of the
Sweet
accident.
Jesus.
It was basically her folks are the ones who just kept us apart right after that, because there was no way that I was able to take care of her on my own.
Oh,
so they're
Jesus.
like, well, we're the ones taking care of her. So you can kind of, piss off.
You need to get out of the equation. Damn.
Yeah, it sucked. Yeah. So it was three huge losses. I kept the guy though.
That a boy. No, I have to ask though. Do you still like? Have you guys reconnected at all? Or like,
I've tried. I've tried numerous times, and
so she won't talk.
I can't get a hold of her. And I can't get a hold of her. Her folks monitor everything of hers, like her social media, her cell phone.
So I take it mom and dad didn't like you from the get-go, or no?
No, they loved me actually. And I was the one who was really sick at the time. And I ended up spending basically a full month in the hospital with her, sleeping on the cold floor until they finally, and when I told them, like, I'm not leaving, I'm not going home. I'm going to stay here until she wakes up out of her coma. And I did. So they finally brought me a cot in there. I was able to take my own showers in there and stuff. They hooked me up. They even gave me free breakfast, lunch, and dinner passes to the cafeteria, because they saw that and her folks were blown away. Like, you're getting yourself way more sick by staying in here, and I'm like, I don't care.
You're that level of commitment. God, man.
Yeah, it was a very rough. It's a rough time, and it's a rough life, but it's not how it's not how hard you can hit or take a hit. It's how you get back up again, I guess.
No, don't you say that,
dude. Fucking Rocky.
I love that.
Great Rocky quote.
Dude, that is the best. It's not how hard you get hit. So many times you get back up.
Yeah. So was the accident your fault? Or?
I wasn't even in the car. Yeah.
So she had your car.
Yes. Yeah. I let her take my car.
Your car.
I'll check this out.
So how could your parents hold you responsible for that?
Because they had to blame somebody. And that's what I had to learn from a counselor. Because I was at home with our little man, and he's her little man, but he was mine too.
Jesus.
And
yeah. You step in the role of stepdad, and they become yours.
Yeah. And
so you've been there.
So I was babysitting basically, and I was I was doing show prep for my show the next day, the old show that I was on, and doing it for the show that I was on The Bone. And she never came home, and then I get a phone call a little after midnight saying, "Eric, there's been an accident."
Oh my God.
So of course what happens, I freak the fuck out, and they're like, just be calm for him. Yeah. Cause he's in my care still. Yeah. And I can't let him know, hey, wake up, little buddy, mommy wrecked herself. No, it doesn't work that way, and you got to shelter him from it. I had to keep it bottled in for a whole night until her mother came and picked up her son. And then I was able to go to the hospital. Oh, fucking nightmare. I don't wish it upon anyone.
Yeah, those are the worst, man, when accidents come around. That goes into my theory of like life always, well, it's not my theory. I'm sure someone else has coined it before me, but that life is always trying to pull you back down. Yeah, in some ways it really is. And you have to kind of rise above it, because that's like one of those things, like everything was going fucking great, and then out of the blue, it wasn't. It's all taken away in the blink of an eye. Yeah.
So it just teaches you one thing about life. Yeah, you're right. You just said it right there. It's all taken away from the blink of an eye.
And you were also then at that same time starting to have health issues of your own?
I had health issues. I had health issues before
a little bit before that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that was nothing new to me. But I mean, like, man, they always say that, God, he never closes the door without opening a window. Never to give you more than you can actually handle. And I believe that. And I had to learn that.
Oh, really?
And I firmly believe that. Yeah. That's what keeps us alive as humans. When time, kicks your ass and life puts you into the ground, and you believe in a higher power in any way possible. I mean, I don't know, I'm not preaching the Bible here or anything by any means. Don't think that, because I won't push my beliefs on anybody, but I do believe in a higher power. And I do believe that, he never gives me enough that I can't handle. And it just makes you stronger. Right. Sorry for going down the slippery slope of a bad.
That's good, man. Sometimes, I think, like I said earlier, I think sometimes people can get a message that relates to them outside of just always being comic relief. I mean, the comic stuff's funny, but we're real people. This is a real show with, real everyday lives, and like, you just, I learned something new about you I didn't know, Eric, and that's like a whole like level of, respect, mad respect for you for having that, going through that and coming out the other side. Because some people don't. You said that I have a different belief than you on that because, I mean, I do believe in a higher power, but I believe that you as an individual have to push yourself through it because there are people that are faced with similar situation to yours that don't make it.
Yeah.
They don't make it through it. It's more than they can handle. They give up on life. They literally give up, and sometimes we blame it on like mental issues or other things. But, the reality is that person couldn't handle it, that they couldn't handle that. Whatever that was enough to break them. And they were like, I'm out. Like they check out,
Like, when you hear people asking when they're praying, they're asking, oh, can you help me win the lottery or help me get through these hard times, whatever it is. Well, it's not necessarily going to be a prayer that's answered in the way that you exactly want it to, but there's going to be something extended out your way. You just have to keep your eyes open and focused to learn how to reach out and grab it and take it for yourself. And then, go from
it's
there.
usually the little things.
Yeah,
it's usually
really
the little things. Like I was listening to somebody that they're spiritual and they are big into that belief philosophy, and they were like, God will give you what you're looking for. It just may not be in the way that you're looking for it. So if you're looking for God, I want to be wealthy, I want to make money, and you're walking down the street and you see a penny on the ground and you walk past it, that might be God's way of seeing if you're ready to handle the wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Do you stop and pick it up and cherish that penny because that's a penny earned to someone else around the world? That could be wealth, or do you just walk past it? So it's like, pick up the little things, do the little things to make the big change. That's the part that I struggle with every day is I know it's all the little things added together and it's consistency. It's just, some days just suck. And I don't know why. It's the mental mindset. Like you get up and you feel like today's gonna be a great day. And then you have something that derails it and it's so minor. And then you're stuck in this cycle.
Yeah.
And rinse and repeat.
And depression's a bitch, man. And I suffer from depression and I take medication for it. And when I don't, for no reason, life just seems to.
Let me ask you something, Eric. You said you take medication for depression, right? What do you take?
I take it's hydroxyzine, basically. It's also an antihistamine also. It just helps calm me down. It's not a narcotic or anything. I can't take
the reason why I asked you
that shit.
Yeah, the reason why I asked you is because I've internally struggled with that over probably the last 3 years myself. And I've not seen anybody for it or anything like that. I've had conversations with Mike off air and things like that, about personal stuff that I battle demons all the time. Do you feel like it really makes a difference, or do you feel
it makes a huge difference, humongous difference?
Maybe I'll have a conversation with you later.
yeah, we'll talk later. No problem.
This might help some people.
It really does, and it's great to see somebody that's out of your inner circle, because they're completely non-biased. They know nothing about you until you divulge the information to them, and that's where their schooling comes into play. Okay, now I can analyze this the correct way, as opposed to me shooting the shit with you guys right now and telling you, well, I suffer from, you know what I mean? Because you already know me,
right?
One of the things that I learned through therapy. So I've done a lot of therapy in my life, and I don't mind talking about it because I'm a very open person, and I learned that the problem is your circle of friends will give you advice. They won't just listen. Where a therapist will listen, because 9 times out of 10, you already have the answer. You just don't know you have the answer. You need someone to listen to you, to be a sounding board that you can bounce it off of to hear yourself talk about it out loud, and then to come to the answer. And they will offer good advice, or they'll give you homework that you take home and that you develop a way to work with it. I'm a big fan that people should take medicine, but they should also work on other ways to cope with the issue and get to the root of the issue. I'm thinking if you're at a level 10, on a scale of 10, as far as anxiety and stress and depression, get on the meds, get to where you get to a good 5, balanced. But then when you get to the 5, start working on other ways to get down to that level 1. So that way, when you can get off the medication and you'll be back at a level 5, and keep working on that. Because I feel like what happens is so many people, they take the medication and they're like, this is the end all be all. I don't have to do any more work.
Yeah, I don't have to work on myself. I just need to work on.
I'm just going to pop the pill. And I'm not a fan of that part, because you don't.
See, that's the one thing I struggle with
anywhere.
Is the pill pop. That's me. I'm not. Mike
I do
knows
too.
this, man. I will literally wait till the last minute to take a pill for anything. Like it kills me. I mean, I have high blood pressure, so
That's
I have to
most
take that
people.
every day, or else I could have a stroke. You know what I mean? And then I wouldn't probably be on this show at that point. You know what I mean? But you know, it's like I know, no, it's not funny, but it's kind of like how Mike, you know, makes fun of me for Legends of the Fall. But the reality is that would probably happen if I wasn't on that bed. I said because you call me Anthony Hopkins on freaking Legends of the Fall.
Oh
yeah, but the reality is that's exactly what would happen if I didn't take this medication. So I am forced to take it, but I also realize, and I'm not doing a really good job at it. Obviously, look at me, but I'm not doing a really good job of making changes in my own lifestyle to get me off that medication naturally. And it might be something that's hereditary as I grow older that I have to take anyway. But I'm still not doing enough to make the difference. So that's why I was asking about the medication. Do you feel, is it something that you had when you had a talk with your physician or your counselor or whoever, that you could get off of that at some point in time?
Yeah, I can get off of it. And when I'm ready to. And it's like I said, it's not a narcotic. You know, it's not habit forming. And
he's on like a really strong antihistamine, which it lowers that whole dopamine response, I think, is how it works. So yeah. So it's a little different than like an antipsychotic or an depressant. It's just basically
not like
just dulls you a little bit.
Calms me down. It keeps me as level as I could possibly be. So
when you were going through that situation, do you mind talking a little more about it or no?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay. So when you were going through that situation, what was the turning point? Like where did you realize that you kind of hit the rock bottom of the whole situation and you knew that you had to get working on yourself again to get back up? Or are you still going through that part of it? And was this a long time ago or fairly recent or?
It was a couple years ago, but you hear people suffering from PTSD and stuff. Okay?
Yeah.
It's no joke. Something traumatizing like that lasts and can last for the rest of your life.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
That's why it's every day that you wake up. I mean, you got to thank your lucky stars that your eyes opened again, you know, in the morning or in my case, in the afternoon. But
doesn't matter. Time is relevant.
Yeah, shit. Not if I'm 5 minutes late for the show. It's not.
Hey, fuck you! I wasn't an asshole that day. I knew he was going to go somewhere with that.
Right.
That's great.
Said I reprimanded him like I was a teacher scolding.
So when did you realize that? Was it a moment in time? Like, can you pinpoint when you were like, okay, obviously her parents want me out of her life. I've got to start focusing on myself. And when did you
it was I could tell you this right now. It was okay. After all was said and done, she was transferred from Blake Trauma Center, but she was transferred all the way up to North Florida for like the rehab part of it.
Yeah.
Like one of the best ones in the country, actually. And since I didn't have a car now, they gave me her car. They're like, here, you just take her car. No questions asked, you know, okay, fine. Felt weird. It felt really weird, but so I'm driving around. Then one day I just get the phone call saying, you're going to have to return that car. I'm like, what? Car's paid off, mind you, right? It's not like she owed anything on it. And I'm like, what do you mean I have to drop it off? Yeah, you're going to go. And I'm like, how about this? How about you come pick it up? And they would not come pick it up. They just would not. Yeah. So it sat forever, other than when I drove it. But I mean, it stayed at my place. And finally, I just said, fuck it. And I drove out there. They had to drive my ass back home from Riverview.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was their own fault, though. That's when it really was rock bottom. Like, oh.
Now, was the accident her fault or was it someone else hit her? Or
no, it was a single car accident.
Oh, my God. Okay.
On 75. So how that's possible.
So she lost control and hit something. And
she hit
the barricade.
Not the barricade. It was
the tree, or
it was the middle median where the trees are. So one of those trees is now completely knocked over, basically. That's how hard it hit. Yeah.
Dang, man. And
I'll show you pictures of I had to take pictures of the car. And I was so grossed out. Like this was probably the most disturbing thing I've ever seen in my life. So I had to get personal belongings, whatever was like not completely destroyed in the wreck.
Yeah, whatever you could salvage. Yeah,
whatever I could. And I'm digging through. I didn't have to open any doors because there were none. And I look in and there's her hair. She had long brown hair. Part of it was stuck in the roof and hanging down. Like,
lost it.
I threw up. I cried. Yeah, it was bad, man. It was scary. And then it's just a horrible fucking experience. I'm glad that I lived through it. I'm glad that it's over with, and I've been moving on, and I'm happy about that.
I just feel like that's so unfair. Like literally so unfair. Like that they treat you that way because you're the one, that lost the car, the girl, and then there's no like. There seems like there was no compassion for you. Yeah, it sucks, but it wasn't like you were driving. It wasn't like you were the influencing factor if this thing happened. You know what I mean?
Exactly. But I
can understand if it's like you were in the driver's thing and you were like driving drunk or didn't. You know what I mean? Like you did
totally
something
different
stupid
story,
and
like
you
were
walk
the
away
cause of the
perfectly
accident.
fine.
Yeah.
Like you walk away perfectly fine and she's like in a coma. Like I can understand as a parent, I'd be pissed, but. You let her borrow your car and then she goes off and does something stupid, not stupid, but you know what I mean? Like, unfortunate.
She was the only one of the only people that I'd ever let drive that car because I knew how she knew how to drive it, right? She could handle the power in it. I know that sounds stupid, but it's not.
No, it's not.
They literally told me, they're like, well, if you just would have said no to her and let her take her own car, I'm like, what the fuck is a big deal?
That's just give it. And how many years has it been since that accident?
It's been 4, 5, 6, 7 years.
It's
almost
too long. It's too long, Brad. I know where you're going with this. It's too long. They got it set in their mind.
I know they got it set in their mind, but I mean, at some point, I don't know, man. I'm weird about that kind of stuff.
Never. At no point ever will they not, because Eric hit it on the nail on the head. They needed somebody to blame. They can't blame their daughter, so they're blaming Eric.
Yep.
Bottom line.
I know.
Bottom line,
it's human
because
nature.
if he would have said no, then she'd have drove her car, and if she'd have wrecked her car, it'd have been, why did you let her go?
Yeah.
Either way, you were gonna catch the heat.
There was no scenario in this where he would not have been the scapegoat,
and the blame.
Obviously,
And and her sister, she has a sister too who is almost like they're basically the same age, like 2 years apart. And her sister is a horrible influence on everyone. It's like, of course, they're not going to look at her and say, well, if she didn't meet up with her sister, if you didn't let her go and meet up with her sister, then this wouldn't happen.
Let me ask one thing then. So were you actually in contact with her at some point when all this was going on? The girlfriend. Were you actually talking to her after the accident for a little bit?
Oh yeah, after.
Let me ask you,
I actually went over.
Did she blame you?
No, not once.
Not once. So you're at peace then, because she didn't blame you.
That part. But I even went over to her folks' house to visit her. Okay, and she could barely talk at this time. So I did all the talking, she did all the listening and stuff. And, it was so great to be, right in front of her and talking, but she could barely speak because she bit part of her tongue off and shit like that. I mean, it's real deal Holyfield shit.
No, dude, I'm not saying that it's not. I'm just saying, but did she ever once blame you for her having the accident? Like, did she say, Eric, it's your fault, I really don't want to talk to you? So I'll tell you what the part does that put some peace into you? Does that give you a little bit of peace, at least, knowing that she doesn't blame you? Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
I don't think it matters. I mean, I'm going to talk for you real quick. I don't think it matters, and I'll tell you why. Because I think that Eric, in his mind, was committed to stay with her through all of it.
Oh,
like he was there. He was 100% invested, and I think he still is a little bit just by looking at him and seeing the feeling in his emotions. That it doesn't matter. Would have been worse if she would not have forgiven him, but he knows deep down it's not his fault. But he was committed to be with her and be through it. Like I don't think he takes any blame for it. Like and then correct me if I'm wrong. I don't feel like you're going, man, I should have stopped her, because you did nothing wrong.
Yeah, I had no idea.
You know what I mean? You had no idea. You did nothing wrong.
Prevented anything.
There's nothing the way you could have prevented it, but you were willing to stick with her through it.
I was willing to still willing to marry her.
Let it happen.
And I told my friends, I said, when we get married, this is before I lost all hope. It was like, when we get married, if she still can't walk at that time, then I'm going to have all my groomsmen sit.
This almost sounds like a chick flick.
It really is, because I'm a little scared about it.
And I'll tell you why.
Like
I'll tell you why. Because here's the spin. From her perspective, if they filmed it, what they could do is just say that she's the one who told her parents to let this guy go free because she didn't want to hold you back from having a full life.
Oh, God.
And her parents are the villains because they have to be. Like, that would be the movie plot. Like, if I was a producer, that's how I would frame it. And it'd be a situation where, you know, you're going to live your life. And, you know, and maybe that's the way you got to think about it, so you don't have any hatred or stuff like that. I don't know. But
coming this summer, one man, one woman, one accident, and two dildo parents. And two dildo parents.
Yeah.
Coming to you live this December.
So did you go, man, I got to go see a therapist for this? Or did someone force you into it? Like, what was that?
Well,
what was the
my
trigger point for
therapists
you?
were my closest friends, and then it
right. But I mean, you went to see a professional, right?
Yeah, I had to.
Right.
I started off talking to a therapist over the phone, which I thought was dumb because they can't see emotion. You know, it's not like we're talking right now. This would have been way better. This would have been way better.
Zoom meeting.
But the over the phone deal was like, mm-mm. And then there's a therapist. There's a therapy place that's not too far from where we are located. It's called Peace River. And so I went there a couple times. I don't recommend going there. Honest to God, I recommend just contacting your insurance and finding out what's in your available area that's anything but Peace River because they're kind of generic.
So did a friend tell you to go, or did you just figure it out yourself?
I think every friend I have told me to go.
Go see a therapist.
And
I know for me, it was hard. It was hard going to see a therapist because, number one, I didn't have anything like to that level of trauma. You know, like I didn't lose somebody in an accident. I didn't lose a relationship or something like that. I did have I went through a divorce and it was a hard period for me. And I had I had a difficult childhood for me. And the reason I say that is because it's not as bad as other people have it. But just because it's not as bad doesn't mean it's great. Does that make sense?
Correct.
So I know the first time when I walked in to see a therapist, I felt like a fucking loser. I was worried about how people were going to look at me because, you say, oh, I'm seeing a therapist. People are like, oh, there's something fucked up with this person. You know what I'm saying?
There's always a judgmental prick out there.
Yeah, it's gotten a lot better because more people go see it. And it's become a lot more mainstream, especially because a lot of celebrities now talk about going to see a therapist. And it's like, oh, it's the cool. It got to a point there, like I think in the mid 2000s, it became like the cool thing to do. Like, oh, you got a therapist? Fantastic. I got a therapist too. Everybody had a therapist. So the whole stigmata has gone away. But when I first started, there was a big stigmatism. You're like, oh, I see I see a therapist. And they actually said, don't refer to us as therapists. Say that they're a life coach, because when you say life coach, that sounds like you're going places. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, oh, you're so good at life that you have to have a fucking coach. Like the Olympics. Like you're training for this shit because you got it so dialed in that you need someone that's even better at life to like help you get to the next level.
See, I feel like I'm on the outside of where you guys are at because you guys have all experienced some type of trauma in your life, in your personal lives, whether it's deaths in the family.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Eric, you and your girlfriend. I have never, knock on wood, lost a friend or a family member to death yet. Like none of my parents are still alive. My family is very close. So Mike already knows how I'm going to react when my parents leave this earth. Because we're a tight knit unit, we really truly are, and so I've never experienced it, and I'm 52 years old. That's a lot of history, man, and I have no idea how to deal with that kind of pain. I have none. So I mean, I know I wasn't interjecting a lot. It's because I've never been in that situation, so it just I don't understand it. The grief, the feelings, like you guys.
Here's the situation. I'll tell you the situation. I lost my dad. But here's the thing. Like, I think what's going to happen, like, I think especially with your parents, I think you're going to be fortunate enough that it's going to be a progression to the loss. So you're going to see it coming on the horizon. I mean, you're already seeing it now because of the conversations that we had. Like, it could be 10 years, it could be 5 years, could maybe be 15, but 15 is going to be stretching it. So, but you'll see it like when my dad passed, I knew that it was his time. Like I knew he was ready. Does that make sense?
So were you mentally prepared?
So I was relieved.
For that?
100%.
So were you,
yeah, 100%. Even though the specific day came out of the blue, like literally it was a phone call. My mom said, "Hey, I need you to come up to here, and because your dad's in this place and he's not doing great." But when I knew it was at the hospice center, I knew it wasn't going to be good.
But
I got there and he was already gone. Like mentally, he was already gone. Like he was unconscious.
Were you super close?
I got there.
I mean, like, were you guys really close?
In our own way.
Okay, that's what
he was my dad. Like he was as close as I could get to a parental figure. Does that make sense? Okay. Like I don't have any extended family here. Right. I mean, you saw my ancestry.com. Like I've got people, but I don't know any of them. Like, so my parents were my whole life. Like I didn't have aunts, uncles. I met one uncle. He came down to visit me. He said he was going to take me to Yellowstone because he was a ranger there. And for the summer, I was so fucking excited. And 2 weeks after he left us, he found out he had like this really rare cancer and he died like within a month.
Right.
Of me meeting him for the first time. The first time fucking ever. I'm like, whoa.
Well, see, like you said, you don't know your aunts and your uncles and things like that. No. I'm just the opposite. I know all my crazy fucking family, especially on my dad's side. We used to go up there into St. Louis all the time, and they're all fucking nuts. Well, of course, we all are nuts in our own way, right? I mean, I'm doing this show, so I'm fucking crazy. But, you know, so I mean, like, literally, I've just never – I think the only person that I've ever lost that it was close to me, like super close, was my grandfather on my dad's side. I never got to meet my grandparents or my granddad on my mom's side because he passed away when he was my age. Actually, I outlived him by 1 year because he was 51 when he passed. But like my grandfather and I, we were super close. I mean, every grandparent says they don't have a favorite, but they really kind of do in the back of their mind. And I was the one. I was the favorite for him because he was always one to do stuff with me and talk to me and stuff like that. And just like my grandmothers it was my brother and my sister, or my two sisters, however you want to call it. But so I guess what I'm saying is that I've never experienced that. So like listening to you two today, I mean, it was some great information for this show because I got to take in y'all's feelings on things. And I'm going to be like having to deal with this very soon down the road. You know what I mean? As the way I'm looking at it. So yeah, I mean, I hope it helps some of our listeners today too.
Check this out, man. When I was a freshman in high school, my friend, Jason McHugh, was murdered in Philadelphia. Sawed off shotgun to the side through his car door. He was once removed from a senior, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. It hit all of us. We could not believe this. Our older friend was murdered. You okay? I had another friend that our senior year, right after graduation, he was found hanging in the woods, but his hands were bound behind his back. I had another friend, Seth Corona, who graduated. He was dropped on his head doing a keg stand at a frat party, snapped his neck, dead. My friend Brian Earhart, not too long ago, boom, dropped dead because of some rare heart condition. Like when my pops passed, I've already talked about this before, but it was coming, but still, when it did happen,
right,
it blew my mind. And so I don't know how anybody is individually going to react. I just know the way that I reacted, and it was bad each time for me. I'm not saying it's going to be bad for you. It's just a hard thing, and the only thing that's helped me is heal is time. I want to say,
Well, listen, guys. I think this is a good time. Unless you guys have something else you want to finish with, Mike. Do you have anything you want to add?
I think real quick. I know we're getting close to that 30-minute mark, but I want to leave on. I guess the question that I had that we really didn't get a chance to discuss, maybe we'll have to take this into the next show again,
right?
But how to deal with it. Because, I was like trying to get with Eric, like when was the turning point? Like for me, like the turning point was I just realized I couldn't do it all on my own. Like I needed to talk to somebody that wasn't biased about me or my friends or had an opinion. I just needed to get to somebody that would listen unconditionally and offer unconditional sound advice. That was what my thing was. And, it's just like, how do you know that you have depression? I mean, you can go to Google and type in like, what are the signs of depression? But I feel like 90% of the people have almost all of those at some moment in time.
Yeah, I agree.
So
with
maybe
you.
that could be the homework. Maybe in the next episode we could talk about that.
Yeah, just touch on for a little bit on the start of the show.
Yeah, and then we'll get some funny shit in there too, guys. I know we need to be funny for
listen.
because that's what
I
people
think it's
sign
just
in for,
like you said, man.
Sometimes they like this shit. I don't know.
No, I think you have to have serious guy talk, bro talk, or people talk, period.
Mm-hmm.
Even while we're having funny, even though we're funny, at least we think we're funny, but
I'm funny as fuck.
You gotta have those. You gotta have these open conversations because I just think it helps people too as well. And while we're doing this, we got to help people. But go ahead, Eric.
Think about this: people listening to us about today's show. This could actually help somebody out there that's listening who's dealing with their own demons. That are afraid. You don't have to be afraid to keep them bottled up and hide it. Let it out. And don't be afraid or embarrassed to actually want to go talk to somebody because there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with that, guys, listen, seriously, before we get out of here, I just want to say, if you need help, reach out to somebody, counselor in your area, a family member, friend, whatever. They might give you some advice like Mike said, but go see somebody and talk to somebody in the profession field. Mike, you want to add to that at all? Or
another thing I do is if you don't have any of that, just try journaling, try writing it down. That's very cathartic. Write a letter to yourself that you can read later.
Or write a letter to us and leave it on no name on it.
Yeah,
I will literally go out of my way to help somebody in that situation.
Yeah, me too. 100%. If you don't talk, I know I come across as an asshole, and I'm actually a pretty nice guy, and I'm willing to give the shirt off my back to help people out. So
no, he really
Brad just made an expression, but yeah, I'll bust your balls, but it's only because I like you.
Exactly.
If I'm picking on you, it's because I like you, but I'll go to bat.
I think he loves me.
Us a lot, Eric.
Goddamn.
Yeah, he's in love with you, dude. I love you.
Nobody. Hey, listen, and if anybody messes with Eric, I'll come at them like a fucking
He's
spider
actually
monkey.
said that to me before.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'll go at her. So, guys, listen. If you have,
the only person who gets to fuck with you now is me.
So
sometimes Brad.
Yeah, sometimes Brad now. So make sure you write in though. Seriously, all joking around aside, info at the Daily BM. You don't have to give us a name if you don't want to. If you need somebody to talk to. Other than that, seek, like I said,
or hit us on any of the socials too in the messaging boxes.
Correct.
And
You
stuff
can actually. Yep. That's a good one too. You can hit us up on Instagram and Facebook at the Daily BM, even on the tweet machine and on the Tiki Talk at _ the Daily BM, or just go to our website, thedailybm.com.
And if you have an experience that you want to talk about, hold on one second. If you have an experience that you want to talk about, go ahead and reach out to us about that too, because we'd love to have you on air to talk about situations. Eric opened up and we had a big session with him, and that might help somebody going through the exact same things. Going, hey man, someone else in the world has had the same experience.
Absolutely.
Anyway, sorry, Brad.
No, you're good, man. You're good. That's absolutely right. So actually go also as well, head over to our YouTube channel. We now have a YouTube channel up so you can see our ugly mugs, even though we have faces for radio. And that's just click that subscribe button. Let's build this up and let's keep the momentum going. So guys, we're going to get out of here. You got anything for us before we get out?
Coming up on next show.
Be safe.
I think we have a part Tracy coming up with a couple swingers.
Yeah, that's true. Coming up down the road, we got some swinger stuff. Boom, boom, boom. That'll change the pace a little bit. Guys, we'll catch you on the flip side, and we will see you tomorrow.
Have a good one.
Deuces.